Here's Patrick Johnston, Canucks beat writer for the Province.
Look at the drool. Look for the drool as he comes on. Oh, the beer. I forgot. It covers up the drool.
How are you?
Oh, I wish I had a mini Yorkie right now, guys. Who
doesn't like a mini Yorkie? You've done some reporting. What are you hearing on JT Miller?
I do reporting every day, Matthew.
True.
You've done some reporting specifically on this topic. Sometimes you and Ben Kuzma split that up for the Province and Post media. What are you hearing?
Well, I mean, as we heard the other day, stepping away from the team, needs to. I mean, it is clear he has not been playing well, right? Like, this is something we all know. And I think I've said he's been hurt. And we've long suspected he's been hurt. Certainly the neck area, upper back. It was described to me as a, quote, unique injury. Tell me if you've heard that before about a Vancouver Canucks player trying to come back from something. We talked to him yesterday. His name is Thatcher Demko. But yeah, that Miller physically has been dealing with something that has, certainly the impression is, it's sort of that question, why not take some time off? Well, it maybe not be one of those ones that like you just sit there and rest, which leads you to think maybe it's like a nerve problem or something like that. And certainly, I'm going all Moj here, right? Back when I used to play rugby, I did have a nerve problem in my arm, which was unusual and needed some rest, but just needed time more than anything. And so that's kind of what I found myself thinking about. But I think also, just as I wrote, like the weight of the world, and that's really the impression. The more I talk to people, it's sort of the weight of that he's a guy who wants to beat the person on the other side of the rink. And the more I've talked to people, the more I think it's become clear that somehow this became an overwhelming mental obstacle for him. And so there was a bit of a just take a deep breath, go over there, get yourself moving back in the direction you want to be. And obviously there's challenges. There can be challenges beyond that. I don't know, but certainly the impression I have as a hockey player is a hockey player who hit a wall a couple different aspects, and you stay home for a couple weeks, and hopefully you come back and you're close to the guy you want to be. Yeah.
I hope it's not. I'm familiar with nerve issues too, and it's not fun because you're right. There's nothing you can do. Physio really minimally improves things. It's just time. So I hope that's not the case for him. But that would mess with you if you're a pro sports player that needs every facet of their body firing on all cylinders. So in the meantime, they've got to figure out a way through this for JT Miller and
now on to the other injured guy, but the guy whose prognosis.
Let's just before we move on to the next injured guy. What does this do for Elias Pettersson? Because does this become Elias Pettersson's team? Like, is there a direct line of JT Miller's not here? This is Elias Pettersson's time.
Yeah, it certainly is. It was literally the thought I had. I mean, listen, has been playing better. Like
totally.
Like 8 points on the homestand for like a guy that has finally found a way. Now the skating still isn't there. I'm still not sure he's 100% himself. But a guy that they need to find his way back to where he has been, and they need on him more than ever. And you look at a guy that has been producing, and what else? Like I said, if he's not 100%, he's certainly playing pretty damn well. The acceleration isn't there, and that's the thing I'm still concerned about. But as a result, in terms of numbers, all the things are trending in the right direction.
Do we see Thatcher Demko next week? Does he make his season debut next week? What do you think?
It seems like, listen, at the beginning of November, it was sort of mentioned to me, listen, if all goes well, we will see him by the end of the month, essentially. Well, we're almost there. And
here we are.
And he certainly was talking to us, and he was relaxed and relieved and pleased to talk to us. Like, it was rather remarkable how upbeat he was and ready to discuss. I mean, he said the word. He said popliteus.
He said it. I heard that. And I went, whoa.
When he met us in Penticton, when he met you guys in Penticton, he was very clinical and businesslike about it. And yesterday you could see a guy who had some weight relieved from his shoulders.
Yeah. And that's the good news. And I asked him, have you allowed yourself to imagine that game back? And he said, no, I can't. But he also admitted that there were moments where he had, that he would get, and he just had to be no, I have to just get right. And he's now in a position where he's almost there. And you can tell that the confidence is there. So yes, I mean, if he plays by the end of next week, I would not be shocked. That would bring us to the end of November. I said
doing those skating drills yesterday, like if they're guarding him, they're not letting him do that.
No, exactly. And if he says, as he said, really they didn't know where they were at until after training camp. Like, we're 2 months. Like, you think about the sequence of things. These guys hit the ice in early June, late May, right? Your preseason buildup is your preseason buildup is a 3-month long process. If he missed, essentially he's now hitting his training camp form. Like, he knows also that, he gets in the game. He is probably not going to be as good as he would like to be. He is very aware of that. There's just no getting around that. But yeah, like I said, the body language, the smile, the willingness to talk and talk and talk and talk. I mean, he would have talked for longer. He did actually have an appointment to go deal with. But,
and on the podium of missing players, we go to the third spot and Brock Boeser. Same question. Do you expect to see him in the next week?
It sounds like it if all goes well. I mean, it sounds like he's traveling from what I've been told. Sounds like he's traveling. And certainly yesterday they had to meet with, Taka was pretty upbeat, said that, I have to meet with the doctors, but was optimistic. And I get the impression that certainly sounds like they're going to go that direction. So yeah, I'm not sure he'll play on the weekend. Max Sasson called up this morning. I think also aside, listen, Jonathan Lukaramaki showed well. I thought J-Pat was smart to say that here's a 5-game sort of report card. Let's find out where he's at. Always in awe of J-Pat. And he was right on the money because, look, he's had it that he needs to add some weight. Like, to succeed in the NHL, you can't get ragdolled. He was getting ragdolled here and there. Obviously scored a wonderful goal. He had some great instincts with the puck. I think he was starting to find his way on the power play. But now he's seen what the NHL is, right? This was the taste. Now he can go back and turn himself into an NHLer. So, him going down was, to me, a pretty clear sign that Boeser's imminent. Is whether he returns in Ottawa or he returns, say, on Tuesday, that does seem likely. Max Sasson, Max Sasson's a very smart kid. I can tell you that much. And a player that clearly they think has been coming along. We'll see if he can, be any better than Nils Oman, because Nils Oman right now is the other option.
And sounds like we're going to see Sasson on Saturday.
I guess we will. Yeah, I mean, you count the numbers. He'll have to be in the lineup, right?
Right. I mean, unless Boeser's back, right? So, I got to say, it's fun unwrapping the new toys, huh? Lekramakin, now Sasson. I had hopes to see EPD as well, but isn't it fun? Isn't this fun, guys? Like, young call-ups
8
who might actually have a future in the National Hockey League, not just be stopgaps for the Sea of Granlund. This is amazing. I love this.
Did I see that from Jeff? 8 call-ups in the first 20 games? 9.
All right.
9.
Well,
right.
is some of that, though, the shuttling for cap space accrual?
Yes, and it's also like Ty Young's call-up, but still, it's not. It's 9 actual call-ups.
Isn't this fun?
It's crazy.
Well, and it's the cap space thing, right? Like, this is just a position they were never really even in this position in the Gillis era, right? Because they were so hard up. The philosophy then was just be up beyond the cap. I mean, you had our friend Mr. Gilman yesterday, was the master of this. And well, this team doesn't have to do that. They're trying to do other things, and also they're playing both ends of the table. It's actually pretty impressive.
I should clarify. It's 9 players, not 9 call-ups. So it's not the yo-yoing.
Yeah,
9 players.
No, 9 players.
Right,
yes, some of it is because of the yo-yoing, but it's great fun. I'm, to have a good team and see this is it's having your cake and eating it too.
Well,
not that I've ever understood that phrase.
Like, it's having guys that are the idea that they're actually close, as opposed to guys that are going to be in the mix, or that just need to be there. Like there were times where guys would get called up and you needed a warm body just in case, but that guy was never going to play. these guys, they do believe we'll play. I mean, Sasson it's a kind of now or never kind of situation. Like if he can come in and contribute and be interesting, useful, then they'll keep him around. But if, it turns out he could just be, I suppose, the next Linus Karlsson, right? Like I just don't.
Yes.
They saw what they needed with Karlsson. He could stand in the lineup if they needed to put him in, but there's not much else there.
Ask you the Surrey Mitsubishi poll question. Would you like the Canucks to reacquire Nikita Zadorov?
Oh, what a mess in Boston. Holy smokes. Yes, just for the fun factor.
Yes.
I'm not sure it actually makes the team any
better.
Maybe. But anyway.
Okay, so let's just
leading the rush, just to see him lead the rush again. I will take it.
So this has obviously got some tongue in cheek to it, but let's just play it out for a second here. So you mentioned things are a mess in Boston. I'm not sure they're loving their free agent signings there. Now, it is super rare for an NHL general manager to admit a mistake after 20 games of a player. In fact, Jim Rutherford and Patrick Alvin might lead the league in terms of admitting a mistake and getting out of it quickly.
Yeah.
So on the Canucks side of things, I know Patrick said, hey, we love Nikita, I just didn't have the cap space. That was in the context of a defense core where Carson Soucy was a viable option on the second pair. And Carson Soucy is looking less and less like a viable option on the second pair. So when he was accounting for his cap space, he thought he had a pretty good player at 3 1/4 in Soucy for this year and for next year. Zadorov is more than that at 5, needless to say.
Yeah.
But I also wonder whether Zadorov's an upgrade over Carson Soucy. What do you think? Do you think there is any realm in which the Canucks were to circle back on Zadorov if Boston were to make him available?
Well, and who's the salary going the other way? Because that would need to happen.
Well, that's it. Nils Höglander is not enough. Like right now, you would need more to balance out salary.
Nils Höglander next year, $3 million works, but not this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the 5 times 6, right? Like that was, it was the term basically that was the difference. Listen, I still think Carson Soucy can be the right player for them. We saw the guy last year. I'm not convinced he's 100% as well. Rick Tocchet talked about his confidence. I mean, Rick Tocchet talked about his confidence yesterday. I asked him this, where's his confidence? And he said that he just needs to, everything's been going wrong for him. He turns around the pucks in the net. Now, Cody Severson, great breakdown on the numbers. Look how bad the expected goals is, look at the expected goals and look what the actual results are. And, what's the difference? And I said, well, the difference is because they haven't made good decisions with the puck. Like they've been beaten in front of that. Like they're, was it against Nashville that Soucy got beat in front of the net? It was on the weekend. It was one of the games on the weekend where Soucy just gets beat in front of the net. It just wasn't good enough. And that's not a play he's been making. Tocchet yesterday mentioned taking sticks away. And, I found myself thinking of every minor hockey coach I ever had, talking about sticks. I kind of said to Rick after, I said, man, like every coach I think that's ever lived has talked about, get your stick on his stick. And he just went, oh, man, he's just like, it's just, I feel like I'm having to go back to school with these guys. If we just do that, like there was, I can't remember which, I think there was a goal on on Tuesday he was mentioning where he thinks, you flip his, he said it's advantage ad, like you just flip the stick away. It doesn't happen.
Active sticks.
If it's that simple, okay. Sticks. If it's that simple, like, good. But, so on the Zadorov question, I mean, there's just oomph that he would bring to the lineup, absolutely, and energy he would bring to the lineup, absolutely. Like, he brings you, we all saw how great he was in the playoffs. Let's not forget, he wasn't great in the regular season. What is the role you're bringing him into play? I don't think he's a second pairing defenseman. That's the problem. Is Soucy a second pairing defenseman? I don't know. He played like one last year. He's not playing like one this year.
Ideally, you're number 5.
Soucy's in the playoffs, Zadorov was every bit
Zadorov, pair. Yes. I mean, Soucy.
Historically, in general, he has not been a second pairing defenseman. Like, I think it's just, I think realistic. He is like Soucy. You'd rather have him on your third pair, right? He's a weapon you spot.
But now at $5 million, that's...
Yeah, I wonder.
So that's
You
why
never put the genie back in the bottle, but boy, what I would have loved after a playoffs like that for Zadorov, big summer and another year working with Tocchet and Foote. I would have loved to have seen that in a parallel.
Sometimes players just work better in different systems.
That's it.
And maybe he's a better fit here. I mean, Sprong goes back to Seattle and scores.
Exactly.
I
hear.
Yeah, who knows?
Okay.
Meanwhile, Elias Lindholm, 2 goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, we talked about it yesterday. He is not a play driver. He has a lot of great traits. And so I can understand why you look at the traits and that guy can drive a line because he sees the ice pretty well. Yep. He passed the puck pretty well, shoots it pretty well. He's got some degree of size. He's really good defensive player. So you look at it all and go, wow, what a prototypical second-line center. He can drive a line. But the thing is he's got to play with good offensive players if you're going to get the most of them. Yeah. And I think Boston and others may have, miscalculated on that.
I just don't, I mean, listen, I notionally you can play with Pasternak, but is he really a first-line center? Like, I just don't think he's a first-line center.
He's not a first-line center. No.
Anyway, I think Boston in the end is kind of running up to the wall against the wall of roster structure. Like they just don't. There's just not enough there anymore, which is surprising because they were making it work last year.
Well, except I think their goaltending has really been the deodorant there. It has been elite for several years, and it's not this year, and I think that's costing them. We've got to go. We thank you for your time. Always fun. Always fun chatting with you, Paige. Until next week, buddy.
Take care, guys.